Well, good evening. This is Hound Dog Steve coming to you on the 11th of June, which is a Monday evening. And here we have Joke of the Day, Meet the Authors. And this is Bill Clinton with his ghostwriter James Patterson and the Me Too crowd. And I don't know if you've seen the whole interview, but I am going to link it below because it's kind of interesting. And, what can I say? It was an interesting interview. And of course, Bill is a great speaker. He is such a tremendously likable kind of person. You can easily imagine sitting down with Bill, having a drink, having a beer, playing a game of cards, and actually having, an everyday kind of conversation, because he's an everyday kind of guy. Except that he is a predator. Okay, and so in the interview it came up about Monica Lewinsky, and so Bill basically said that he was also a victim and that he left the White House $16 million in debt, and this has sparked the ire of the Me Too group on Twitter. But what I thought was kind of interesting was James Patterson said, when he felt that the interviewer was being a little too pressing, he said, "Hey, listen, this is 20 years ago. Come on, man, enough already. Let's give it up. 20 years ago. This is a long time ago." And of course, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Stormy Daniels was 20 years ago. Why aren't we talking about the same thing? Not Richard Pryor. Bill Cosby, facing accusations from 20 years ago. Rapist. Who, me? 20 years ago. Allegations from 20 years ago. Okay. The other thing that James Patterson said, which I thought was kind of interesting, is that, hell, he said, we all know about the casting couch. The casting couch has been going on forever. We all know about that. Rapist? Who, me? Okay, so let's put this in perspective. There is no doubt about it. There are people who abuse their power. But also there are people who are prepared to sacrifice just about anything to gain favour with power. Okay, and this is actually why the French have a special court or a special set of rules and laws for crimes of passion, because they realise that when you are in that highly elevated emotional state, the rules change, and it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter whether you are educated or uneducated, it doesn't matter whether you come from a classy background or a common background, it really doesn't matter. The rules simply just do not apply when it comes to love and jealousy and emotions around those kind of things. So personally, when I look at the reaction and the outrage to these kind of things, or actually in the case of Bill Clinton, the lack of outrage, I'm wondering why there isn't a level playing field. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, there should be a rule of law, and that rule of law is colorblind. It is background blind. The rule of law applies to everybody. And if Bill Cosby can be up on rape charges from accusations 20 years ago, if Stormy Daniels can stand there and talk about things that happened 20 years ago and try and sue somebody for it, then that goes for everybody, including Bill Clinton. And so, what I'm upset about so much these days is the hypocrisy that I'm seeing, where all of a sudden, because it's Baba Bill, can't we be a little bit more lenient? Can't we sort of forgive that? But when it comes to Donald Trump or Bill Cosby, oh no, we can't forgive any of that. Well, we either have it one way or the other, but not both ways. You are either all guilty or neither are guilty. We publicize all or we publicize none. And I don't want to sound like I'm a little puritanical about this, but that's actually the way it is. You know, as far as the rule of law is concerned, that is why when you see the scales of justice, the woman standing there is blindfolded. Okay, she's holding the scales of justice, which balance. And the blindfold is, I don't see who you are. I'm listening to your words. And everybody will be dealt with fairly, equitably. That's what those scales mean. Balance. We're going to be dealing with everyone equitably. And that's what I'm looking for out of this whole situation. I'm sick and tired of the hypocrisy, and I'm sick and tired of not being able to mention the hypocrisy for fear of being labelled as some kind of right-wing supremacist. You know, this again, a little wacky, folks, when you can't point out some of these subtleties. I'm looking for a level playing field. Anyway, on to our next story. Here we are. The Liberals will rebuild. And here is Kathleen Wynne with a few crocodile tears here because, you know, as we mentioned before, she got absolutely trounced. The Liberals, this is the worst election result for the Liberals since 1923. It's absolutely appalling. Now, there's no doubt that Kathleen Wynne inherited an awful lot of baggage from Dalton McGuinty. However, there is no doubt either that she compounded this situation, fiddling with hydro, selling off the hydro as an asset to the private sector, you know, when there was ample evidence at the time that the public was not in favour, and the Power Workers Union is still suing the government for selling a public utility. And these public utilities are owned by us, and they should never, ever, 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 ever fall into the hands of the private sector, no matter how poorly the government seems to run these things. These are things that we all need. These utilities, water, sewer and hydro, have basically become absolutely imperative to life. And so to fiddle with them, to hand those off to the private sector, where, you know, we see with Ontario 1 that the private sector has already invested in coal-burning hydro generation units and has used money to displace members of the board in other hydro stations that they purchased to meet their mandate. So this is not a very good situation at all, and the reason it is run, utilities are run by the government, essential services are run by the government, is because we can punish the government that abuses that process. And that's what happened to Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals. They got punished by the public because the public realizes that we own these utilities. And now the outgoing Premier hoping for party status from Ford. Well, you know, Kathleen Wynne basically called Ford everything but a white man. Okay, and I don't know what I would do. I think I would like to have Kathleen Wynne, who retained her seat, sit there in the legislature, and because if you don't have party status, you don't have any time on the floor, so you can't answer, speak, or anything of that kind of thing in the legislature. And so Kathleen Wynne, who loves to talk, as we know that, would be forced to sit there silently and contemplate the woes of her leadership in the Liberal Party. And she says, the Liberals will rebuild. Well, good. You had better rebuild, because you obviously went astray. And, you know, another thing from that Bill Clinton interview was he was asked why the Democrats lost the election. And he said that, unfortunately, all the hard work of the Democrats had failed to reach the general public. In other words, all of the benefits stayed within the people who were in the upper echelons of the Democratic Party. Which explains why Donald Trump got elected. And, you know, here we have a few stories about Donald Trump. I don't know who took this photograph. Okay, this is Trump seeks Russia's readmittance to G7. But look at Justin Trudeau in the middle of that grouping. It looks like Elizabeth May and Angela Merkel are just too embarrassed for words. And Macron and Shinzo Abe are just trying to distance themselves from Justin Trudeau. But, I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? Look at that pose. I mean, there's something about that pose that defies description. Okay, so the main story here. Now, I've been analysing Trump for the last 18 months, and I've got to tell you, you know, I am a political atheist, and so a lot of the stuff that's going on, I'm just observing from a distance. Okay, I am sometimes a liberal, sometimes a conservative, sometimes an NDP. They all have good ideas, and they've all got a bunch of crap that they bring along with them. Okay, so it's up to us as individuals to make up our own minds about what is going on. And I was talking with some friends over the weekend, and this topic came up. And of course, it is immediately apparent that if you are ignorant of the facts, it is not for the sake of research. With the internet today, even with fake news and all that kind of stuff, the ups and downs, the internet is the most powerful tool at your fingertips for information. And what I do is I go to a variety of sites. I go to CBC, I go to BBC, I go to Al Jazeera, I go to Russia Today, I go to Fox, I go to CNN, I go to independent news sources like the Corbett Report. Okay, I listen to Mark Dice. He comes up with some interesting stuff. I get my news sources from a whole variety of backgrounds, and I synthesize what I feel about what is going on from many, many, many different sources. So that said, I've been analysing Trump, and I'm realising that, you know, there is no connection between Trump and Russia, no matter what you think, no matter what you would like to think. There is no connection. And so Trump is poking the snake. Okay, he's keeping the interest. Let's get Putin back into the G7. Come on, he's one of us. Oh my God, there must be a Putin connect. Trump, Russia. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Now he's playing with you. This is what Trump does. He's actually a very entertaining character, and I've no doubt he will be successful in negotiating with Kim Jong-un and North Korea. There is something about this guy, you know, you saw him on his show on TV. He has a way of bringing people together, regardless of what you think. And, you know, we've all been watching, you know, the NAFTA talks, and what can I say? I think Trump is gently trying to nudge Justin Trudeau to man up. And you see Justin Trudeau is actually manning up. He's going, hey, we're going to retaliate. And of course all they have to do is close that valve, that water valve to America. How do you like that? And there's nothing wrong with being a strong negotiator. That's the problem with NAFTA. NAFTA was a shitty deal. Okay, all of these deals that we have been getting into, these international deals, are shitty deals because Canada has not been able to step up to the plate and negotiate tough. Now, I came across this the other day. I thought this was kind of interesting. Mitt Romney, Trump will win again. Mitt Romney, 2020, and I believe he will. The Democrats really have, they've failed to connect with the average working person and the difficulties that the working person is facing. Now, what I think has happened here, this is my own personal take, is that I think I said before that the divisions in society are not this way, okay, between, you know, Aboriginal, white, black, gay, lesbian, transgender. Those divisions, they are divisions, but they're not the important ones. The important division is this division, which is below and above. Okay, so Trump is no doubt part of the above group, okay, and but he is a nationalist. So he is a splinter group within the elitist, and the other elitists, you know, who own all of the newspapers, all of the media. This is why you're seeing the media scream hatred for Trump, is because he has created a coup within the globalist faction. So we have these two giants. You know, this is almost like a comic book kind of fight. You've got these two giants bouncing and banging against each other, and basically you and I, we really can't do a lot about that except shield ourselves and hope that the damage of these two playing out their seeking to control the power, that we get some benefit and not too much negative. So this is not an uptick for Trump or a downtick for the Democrats. It is merely an observation that we have two factions warring against each other, and they are so big that they are beyond our control. And this, of course, makes for a tenuous situation. So I'm hoping for the best possible outcome. You have to hope, for example, that Trump is successful with Kim Jong-un. This is a peace deal that is long overdue. It will cause millions, it'll cause trillions of dollars in infrastructure upgrading, because as soon as this happens, as soon as North Korea integrates with South Korea, there will be construction companies pouring into there. The money created will be absolutely incredible by the construction that will take place in the upgrading of North Korea, and sad to say, in an environmental sense, economically, we will all benefit from this situation. And of course, a greater peace will be achieved, which is all too important. If Kim Jong-un can be convinced to cross that line from a totalitarian kind of government into a more capitalistic / open type of government, more power to the world. The world just became a whole lot safer, and this paves the way for Iran to do the same kind of thing. You know, so think about that. Even if you don't like President Trump, please pray for his success in these talks, because we will all benefit, Republican and Democrat alike. and this, of course, is Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson looks to Trump's chaos. And it says here, Boris Johnson thinks Donald Trump's madness negotiating style may be what's needed in England's Brexit talks with the EU. And again, Trump is an ace negotiator. He's been doing this all his life, and like it or not, he is good at it. If you just step back, I can't emphasize this enough. I've taken the emotion out of my political understanding, investigation, and opinion. So I neither love Trump, I neither hate Trump. I didn't love Obama, I didn't hate Obama. They are who they are, and we are in a story, an evolving story, which creates history in its wake. And so I analyze these people, these situations, and when you take the emotion out of it, I'll tell you, it becomes a lot more enjoyable and a lot more, what can I say? You don't get into arguments with people about stuff. It keeps it, like I'm just not, emotionally engaged with this stuff. So, if somebody wants to browbeat me, well, it's no big deal. That's their stuff, it's not mine. I'm talking middle ground. I'm talking about things that work on the ground for you and I. The people who are below this line, because we have everything in common, regardless of what we think, regardless of our backgrounds, regardless of our ancestry, and until we learn to work together to do what we want to have happen, then we will continue to be ruled by the overlords. It's as simple as that. Anyway, final story. I thought this was interesting. First Saudi woman to receive a driver's license. Have we checked this? Is this the 21st century? Is this the 21st century? Women only just getting their driver's licenses. And of course, if you look in the background, there is a bunch of soldiers herding around as if this is the crime of the century. Crime of the century, getting a driver's license. Things that we take for granted in our society. That everybody does have those rights. Anyway, that is an interesting juxtaposition. So, this is Hound Dog Steve signing off. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please, if you did, like and subscribe below, and we'll be talking to you real soon. You take care now. Have a great week. See ya. Bye.